With the Quest 3S launch so far looking successful and even the Quest 3 still selling decently well at its higher price point, the spotlight is back on the VR industry and especially on Meta, with new rumor mills popping up about all kinds of things behind the scenes. Claims that with the possible tariff war, the new president-elect is talking about that Meta may move half of its Quest production to Vietnam to help keep the prices low if the Chinese tariffs really go up and cause the prices of imported goods to go up. This is not fully confirmed, but it is quite possible if Meta wants to keep the Quest 3S so cheap at a price of $299, especially with everything that's been bundled with it for that lower price, that if imported goods coming from China did go up in price, they would have to find a way to keep those prices down, especially as it wouldn't be unprecedented. As we've seen before, the Quest 2 actually went up by $100 for a while and then dropped back down. That $299 price point is just very low for everything you get in a Quest headset. And then on top of that, a whole Twitter war going on with a former VR developer talking about how the Quest headset supposedly is going to be designed and outsourced by a Chinese company, and then Boz clapping back over there saying that this isn't true, that this is misinformation being spread. It's just weird to me because the VR space has been niche enough and quiet enough for a long time that we don't usually see a lot of this popping up in mainstream media. If anything big or confirmed actually comes from it, we'll report on that. But so far, it just shows that people are watching VR again and talking about it again, which is a good sign overall for the industry. Although we'll hopefully see more exciting news coming out and more in the positive direction rather than people just fighting on Twitter. Or X. Shaven Stuff is a pretty well-known game over on the Quest store where you step in the role of a barber with all kinds of wacky antics, but also realistic shaving mechanics. They just dropped a new Dreads DLC today, December 10th. So now you've got new extra hairstyles to work on, new other fun bits they've added too. So you can play around with dreadlocks hairstyles for people's heads and beards. And if you don't already know about this game, 13,000 ratings. It's got a really high 4.8 star rating, mostly all 5-star reviews. People saying it's really fun. People saying the game's amazing with the developers responding, letting them know what's going on. People saying you just have to get it. Between the haircuts and the tattoos, it's just really great entertainment. It's a good party game even with friends. So if you've been holding out, or if you already own it, there's a new DLC to go check out, or go down below in the comments and description. There will be a link that'll save you some money if you want to buy the game. Thanks to Shaven Stuff for sponsoring this news. Thanks to them for continuing to update their game and add more for everybody who's already got it. If you've been watching the VR space, you've probably seen a lot of different reviewers popping up with this new VR immersion chair, the Roto VR Explorer. Unfortunately, something we haven't gotten our hands on yet, but a chair that allows you to stay seated and turn your head and the chair follows in that direction, meaning that you can play 360 games with real world movement even without the use of your legs if you just need to sit down, take a break, or for accessibility reasons. Although of course at $800 this chair isn't for everybody, but they are finding enough success that they've raised around another $3 million to continue the production of this chair and company. It is an official Meta partner and part of the Made for Meta program for accessories, and basically it just has a tracker that attaches to the top of your head, and whenever you turn your head, the chair follows. And then it has rumbles in it based on audio cues that then also make the chair shake. And so far, reviews that I've seen have been pretty positive about the chair overall, although at $800 you can buy almost 3 Quest 3S's for the price of one chair. For accessibility reasons or immersion, it is an interesting thing. I think about even if you were to sit face forward in a sim racing rig though, the fact that it can shake and even doing slight turns might still be able to add to what feels like the G-force of a car turning. If we get the opportunity to get one and try it out, I definitely will. It's always interesting to see how a game that did really well flat, or even had a good and strong viral performance as a game that was fun to watch people playing, does in VR. And Trombone Champ so far seems to be doing pretty well with that. Trombone Champ Unflattened is the VR version of the flat game, and although it's not getting a ridiculously high number of reviews like every free Gorilla Tag clone seems to get, it does have really high ratings so far. 4.9 out of 5 stars on Quest, 100% positive ratings on PC, 4.9 out of 5 on PSVR 2. This was something I told you about a little bit back when I tried it out at Gamescom. It was a game that I didn't expect much from, and yet I was smiling and laughing the whole time I was playing it. And at a price of $14.99, it is a lower price to pay for a game, especially when it's ported from such a big and popular game. It's not only a good sign for the VR industry, but for new flat to VR developer studios that are trying to take some of the biggest flat games out there and bring them into VR. They have a couple other games in the works. Wrath, Eon of Ruin VR is a Quake-inspired VR shirt, and it really looks like old school Quake, which has me pretty excited. RoboQuest VR, and then Flat Out VR, a demolition derby racing game. So we'll keep an eye on this development studio as they continue to grow. They're from Impact Reality, who we've talked to you about a couple times. They're also still giving away an RTX 4090. In case you missed that giveaway, I'll leave a link in the comments and description down below. I entered in that one myself though, so maybe I don't want all of you to enter because I'm really hoping I could use a good graphics card like that. We talked about how the Steam hardware survey wasn't showing up the Quest 3S, so we didn't really know how many people were using the Quest 3S on PC yet. Well, it suddenly popped up on Steam hardware, although there is still some issues with how they're reporting it, as certain apps are reporting it as a Quest 3 and certain are reporting it as a Quest 3S, but it showed up as 1.05% over on Steam, which may not sound like a lot so far, but this is the very beginning for it, and it's still likely that a lot of those 3Ss that were purchased are sitting under a Christmas tree somewhere. Are you hoping one's under yours? If you followed the channel for a while, you might know that survival games are some of my favorite games, and especially when they offer co-op modes. I used to stream The Forest a little bit and play that with some of you out there in the community. Into the Radius was one of my favorite Quest games. Well, Green Hell VR is finally getting its long-awaited co-op mode this month on Quest and PSVR 2, a survival game that puts you in the rainforest fighting for your own survival. Now you can do it with a friend. Of course, that friend also needs to be on a Quest, or if you're on PSVR 2, also needs to be on it too, with no crossplay available at this time. I love survival games with friends, although I will say it takes them from being usually quite so serious and makes them a lot more hilarious, but it also gives you the opportunity, if you already played through it seriously and on your own, go back and just have fun with friends. I'm curious, for those of you out there who did play it, do you think co-op will be a good fit for it? People were impressed with the ability to use an Apple Vision Pro and see their real-life keyboard and use it, and Quest is now doing the same thing. It can now automatically detect if you have a keyboard in front of you and do a pass-through cutout to that keyboard so that you can see your real hands, see your real typing, especially good for the hunt and peckers out there. Although for now, this is part of Horizon Home and only when you're in a virtual environment, as is kind of obvious. If you're in Passthrough already, you can already see the keyboard. But the option is there now for developers to start integrating this into their VR apps too. If you're curious to do it, you gotta hop into Settings, Devices, Keyboard, and then select the Show My Keyboard option. But for those of you who are using your headset for productivity, this might be useful. We told you about a lot of giveaways this holiday season. We've got some going on. There's links down in the description and comments. Quest 3, 3S, BOA VR stuff. We mentioned other channels that are giving away quests and graphics cards. There was an interesting one though that is actually having a tournament in the game for exo cards, where if you win the tournament, you can win a headset. So instead of just being based purely on chance, there's some luck too. So if you want to fight out for a headset there, or if you just want to enter any of the other giveaways, I'll leave links down below so that you can get entered, especially as the holiday is getting closer and closer. I can't believe we're like 2 weeks away already. And while people love fighting for the quests in these tournaments, well, people are also apparently really loving a new fighting game. If you know Thrill of the Fight, it was one of the most popular and well-applauded boxing games in early VR. And now when number 2 is out, it's already topped the sales charts for Quest 3, 3S, 2, and Pro, even being followed by Beat Saber and Gorilla Tag after that in the next spots. It's interesting to see how Thrill of the Fight 2 and obviously I Am Cat, even when these kind of games are in early access, they can still top the charts. It does show people are craving a lot of types of VR games, and the question is, are developers continuing to deliver on the ones that we want that will top the charts, where other developers drop a game and they may blame VR's low adoption rate and saying it's not getting enough sales? I'll leave the question up to you there. Do you feel like VR is giving you the games you want? It's December, the holidays almost here, a bunch of big things happening. If you're wondering what else is going on, we just recently did a games list that talks about all the games dropping in December, so check that out, giveaways, other things going on. But thank you once again for being here with me, and I'll see you in another reality.